What's up, Steelers fans? Welcome back for another season talking football with Steely Cam. As we sit here about 3 months away from preseason and 4 months away from the regular season, there's still plenty of time and questions for Tomlin and company to answer before we see meaningful ball played. But this is as good a time as any, with rookie minicamp starting on Friday, to start resetting the expectations for the coming season. And as I alluded to, those questions that Tomlin and company have to answer, I think the epicenter of many of those questions is going to be right here on the offensive line. With all the to-do made about the additions to the position group, I think by the time we get into week one, we may be surprised at the lack of turnover in Kenny Pickett's protectorate in the front five there. This is how I see it shaking out, with actually only one new starter along the line. And I know a lot of you are looking at this, and your immediate reaction is, well, if you trade up for a guy in the first round, you expect him to contribute right away. Coming out of the SEC and even some of the Big Ten programs that are considered pro-style football, there's still a massive leap there, not just on Sundays, but what's expected of you on a week-by-week basis in preparation, as far as Monday through Saturday goes, and especially coming into Pat Meyer's system. So I don't think Broderick Jones won't be ready, but I think you may be better served starting him out as the swing tackle and giving him that time to learn the system. If we go back to last year, there was much turmoil with Dan Moore's performance. He settled down towards the end of the year. I think a lot of that can be attributed to the learning curve with the what Pat Meyer wants to teach and do along his line with the aggressive pass sets, the independent hand usage, and just for those of you who don't know, the stereotypical thing you think of as an offensive line is shoot out both hands at the same time, and what Pat Meyer wants to teach is shoot out one hand, and if the defender swats that away, then you have the other hand that you can still get into the defender's body and still work him, because if the defender slaps both your hands away and he gets into your body, at that point he's controlling the rep instead of the offensive lineman being able to control the defender, and that's not what you want, obviously. So if you shoot one hand out at a time and he slaps that away, you still have the outside hand that you can get on him and still have some modicum of control of the situation there. It's not necessarily what a lot of guys come up learning. It's not what's second nature to them. And as I'm sure you know, in the heat of battle, humans have a tendency to resort to our muscle memory, what we know best, what we're most comfortable with. Again, not that Broderick isn't ready to be thrown in the fire, but giving him, there's so much that you can learn from the bench. And I said this last year about Kenny Pickett, learning lessons from the bench in the film room, just being surrounded by an NFL offense and NFL coaches, NFL offensive linemen who you can, sponge off of. There's so much benefit to be had from that you don't need him to contribute right away. I will say in defense of Dan Moore, a lot of turmoil was made about the sacks allowed last year. Sacks allowed is only slightly less than half of the tale. I think we should be looking at total pressures allowed, and in which case Chooks allowed 2 more total pressures last year. And I think a lot of that is because Moore is working on the blind side, whereas Chooks is, on the right side, where both Pickett and Trubisky are right-handed quarterbacks. So when the pressure comes off the right side, it's a lot easier to see it coming at you and run away from it. And both Kenny and Mitch did a lot of running for their lives last year. So I think Moore took a little bit more heat than he deserved, and Chooks probably took a little bit less. But as it stands right now, those are both fully capable NFL starters. Either of them could be improved upon, but at this point, Broderick Jones, even being the first-round pick that he is going to have to come in and earn either of those spots. I do think that the long-term plan for Jones is as a left tackle. Some people have suggested that he fits better on the right side of the line, just because of some of the stuff that he can do out in space, the ways that he can help Najee with the power running game. The Steelers haven't done a lot of that, especially after the bye last year. I don't know how much of that is what, Matt Canada and Pat Meyer and Mike Tomlin want to do, and more a function of what they were able to do with the personnel that they had. But they totally scrapped the power running game and went back to a exclusively zone run You may see some of those pages start to return to the playbook with the things that Broderick Jones can contribute when he does get on the field. But, I don't know how much you want to alter your game plan based on what a rookie can or can't give you. I think you want to do what you feel comfortable doing, and it's going to take more than one guy being able to get out into space for you to feel comfortable running those plays, calling those plays more often. So as we sit here right now, I think the outside spots, the tackles remain unchanged, with Jones starting as the swing tackle. Now he has all of preseason and all of camp to prove me wrong and prove that he's ready to take that left tackle spot, and then bump Dan Moore down to the swing tackle spot. I think with what you're paying Chooks, you're paying him too much to ride the bench. And I don't necessarily love making decisions based on, you're paying a guy too much to sit in waiting. But, if there was a time to cut him, it was before he made his $4 million roster bonus back in March. So I think that ship is starting to leave the harbor now. So moving on to the interior guys, Nate Herbig was the first signing on the offensive line, and when he was first signed, people took it as a foregone conclusion that he was assuming Kevin Dotson's spot at left guard. I was of the opinion that would be a good battle. I don't think you would just hand him the job. I think both those guys have a equal claim to it. But then with the signing of Isaac Sayumalo, however you say that, I've only seen it in writing, I think you can pretty safely pencil him in as the left guard, with James Daniels holding down his right guard spot, and then Mason Cole holding pat in the middle, anchoring it all in the middle. Some people suggested that they should move James Daniels into the center and have Isaac Samalo and Nate Herbig start at left and right guard, respectively. But that's a lot of shuffling for my liking. I think if you can get away the least amount of turnover as you can manage, the better. And James Daniels was the most solid, most dependable member of that unit last year, so I think you keep him where he's at. And Mason Cole probably overperformed, but performed well enough at center that he deserves to, at least right off the bat, defend that job there in the middle. Where it gets dicey is who comes off the bench if Cole should go down. And the Steelers, I don't want to say suffered, but were the beneficiaries of uncommon continuity along the offensive line last year, with almost no injuries to speak of. And I don't think you certainly can't expect that to be repeated in 2023. So depth is something that they've definitely has been an emphasis. And you can see that with all the signings, really. None of them are really blow you away signings. They're all, starting capable, but however it shakes out, they've all been made with versatility in mind. Herbig has played all of the interior offensive line positions. Isaac Samalo has played all 5 positions along the line, as did Spencer Anderson in college, the 7th round draft pick. And then, of course, Kevin Dotson has played both left and right guard in the NFL, and Kendrick Green's still hanging on as of now, at least. He's probably more of a guard, center experience, of course, but it wasn't that pretty for him there. I think it was Vince Williams suggested letting Kendrick Green play some fullback, and I think that's actually not a terrible idea, because his calling card is athleticism, not so much power, but giving him a head of steam coming out of the backfield and having a big body blocker, in front of Najee, in front of Jalen Warren. The Ravens do that with their blocking scheme. Who knows what that kind of system could unlock? And it's very clear what the Steelers are trying to do as far as what they're trying to build with the running team and the guys they've signed on the offensive line. They're looking for big punishing bruisers who can move guys in, with the exception of Anderson, who was picked because of his versatility rather than his raw power. They're all, I think the term mauler would apply. So the Najee Harris has every reason to put up an all-pro season here, with Jalen Warren as more than a competent change of pace back. So that's how I see it shaking out at this point. As I said, we have 4 months before it has to take shape in any meaningful way. So a lot can and will change before then. Broderick Jones could be moved into starting spot, and 2 of these guys probably won't be on the roster because last year they actually only took 7 offensive line on the original 53-man roster. The year before it was 8. So you can expect probably 2 of these guys won't make the team. And I think a lot of people are right now crossing off Kendrick Green's name. And probably Spencer Anderson is the other guy who has the most to prove if he wants to make that initial roster. But as I said before, Kevin Dotson's versatility, Nate Herbig's versatility, Broderick Jones' unlimited upside, those guys are all, I feel like, pretty solidly going to be on this roster. And there are a couple other names who are reserve and futures guys. Ryan McCollum, just to name one, the one I can think of off the top of my head. But I don't know if any of those other guys have much of a prayer. But, as far as these bench guys go right here, they're all going to have more than enough opportunity in the preseason and camp to prove that they belong. And, if they don't, they'll at least have a chance to audition their talents for other teams who find themselves with less offensive line depth. I will say, looking at this list of names right here, even with 2 of these guys probably not making the roster, if Herbig, Dotson, and Jones are your backups on the bench to start the year, or even swap out Moore for Jones, offensive line depth has gone from a giant weakness on this team to, if not a strength, at least a very solid, not something that you're afraid about. If one guy goes down, you don't start pulling your collar. Ooh, what do we do now? So things to be excited about for the Steelers in 2023.